We all have secrets that we keep from ourselves. We all have truths that we hide behind. So, what are some of the secrets that maybe we keep from ourselves that get to be our greatest advantages? Your history will become your story if you don't look into the past and how it finds itself into your present. In other words, the things that you've done and the things that have happened to you, if you don't understand them, if you don't come to terms with them, if you don't accept them as a part of your story, if you hide from them, they will find its way into your present, and that will always be the ceiling of your potential. Once you accept it, once you make the history just another part of your story, you can push through that ceiling and you can engage in brand new pieces of your potential because you've done the emotional work to be able to own that in a deeper way. And I know that this is true. And I know that if I just say one little thing to you, you're going to see it too. Show me a child who is limited in themselves. Show me a child who is afraid of failure, who isn't happy to explore, who isn't happy to fail, to fall and try again. But then, at some stage in all of our lives, something happens, something is said, something wasn't given, something was given that wasn't asked for. Something happened that got in the way of us having abandon in when it comes to the way in which we interact with the world. When suddenly the risk doesn't match the reward and we become scared. And we start thinking twice, we start having doubts, we start looking at the world suspiciously with caution. In this way, our pain, this watching out, becomes our limitation. It's almost like once that innocence has been broken, in whatever way that it has been broken, you are stuck in a position where that is what you see and what you look for. And that piece of your story, if you are not aware of it, can determine your perspective from the moment it happens. And you can be stuck behind that one piece of your story, and that can educate your perspective. Maybe it is right now. You get to decide the amount of significance, the power that that part of your story, that part of your history that you keep hidden from yourself, that you haven't gone back to, that you haven't thought about, will have on your future. How much of your history is finding its way into your present without you even noticing? And I think that I'm going to break this down a little bit. So, when we all know when we are about to do something that we are going to regret, whether that is being short with someone that we care about. Short is another way of saying rude. So you can be rude with someone, you can be angry, you can start shouting. You are completely aware when it happens. There is a crossroads between I'm not going to get angry and I'm going to get angry. And that crossroads might be a millisecond. It might be that you're so out of control when it comes to that particular part of your pain that you can't choose. You're not in control. But there is a part of you that can feel the shift happening. Once you start getting to know the story, those triggers, those moments that irritate you, make you flare up, puts you in a negative state of mind. Once you are aware of those things and then why it's there to begin with, what part of your story is finding itself in those milliseconds and makes it uncontrollable for you, that's when your pain no longer becomes a limitation because you have an understanding of why it's there. And then you get to use that pain as fuel to be able to share your story and impact and motivate yourself and give meaning to your life because you realize that it's just another part of what makes you beautiful. If there's a part of you that is keeping you in a negative state of mind, it means that there are at least 1,000 other parts that doesn't get to see the light of day. when you don't get to know the part of you that is feeling negative, you also aren't getting to know the parts of you that's incredibly beautiful. You don't get to choose what you switch on and off. If you're switching off your awareness around the things that make you feel terrible, you're also switching off your awareness and therefore your self-control as well as self-awareness of all the things that make you beautiful. You don't get to choose. It's everything or nothing. And if you want everything, it means that you have to look at everything and then move forward. So sometimes we need to take some time to shift away from our pain being our limitation to sometimes even our pain being our opportunity, our pain being our meaning, our pain just being a part of our story, because we all have it. We just, for some other reason, don't talk about it that much. Once you have an understanding of that pain, of that thing that happened to you, of what it means to you, and how, most importantly, how it finds its way into your everyday life. Once you are more self-aware and therefore more in self-control, you can start looking at, okay, I really know that feeling. I really know that world of that problem. I know that problem deeply. What can I do to solve it? And in that way, our pain becomes our innovation. So I'll put in a piece here where I talk about on Expresso about, do I think that Africa has got a lot of innovation? And it's true, because we are so connected to what it is that we need, because we know what we didn't get. So now we can find new solutions. We can bring our boundless creativity. Just so if anyone has got any kind of doubts, us Africans, we are very, very, very capable and creative, by the way. You might not know about it. The press doesn't talk about it. We are endlessly capable. If this is what we can engage with, if we can find the solutions to, there's a guy who invented dry bath. He realized that the amount of time that it takes I wanted to put in a thing here where you can see it. The guy realized that the amount of time that it takes for people to find water to be able to wash themselves was impractical. So he created a solution that's cheap and affordable for people to actually wash themselves. And that could only happen in Africa. Why? Because we know our pain points. We know what we need. And we get to use our creativity once we accept our pain points to be able to build solutions. You first have to accept the truth of the matter. You have to accept that it's just a part of the story, and then you can look at, right, now that I've accepted it and I don't have an emotional attachment to it that's negative, right? Because that guy who did dry bath, he so easily could have gone, oh, well, I'm just going to be angry about this. I'm just going to sit here, and if someone else doesn't solve the problem, I'm just going to be angry. He accepted that that is the way in which things are, and he found a solution. That is all problem solving. And that's innovation. The thing that makes Africa so exciting is that our pain points are so basic compared to the rest of the world, compared to second world and first world countries. We worry about water here. The Western Cape, we almost didn't have water, running water out a tap. The amount of innovation that happened in that little window of time where suddenly we had to find solutions. Our basic needs were not being met, so we found a solution. And when we find these basic solutions, the level of innovation is so incredible that it can have a global impact. Because once you solve a basic problem, that helps almost everyone. That is why Africa is boundless in their innovation. I think the beautiful thing is that once you know what your pain point is, the thing that educates your experience of what it is that you want, your initial suffering, the thing that took away your innocence. We all have that story, so to talk about it should be absolutely normal. Once we know that piece of ourselves, we get to weave it into the fabric of our lives in a way that is so potent, that is so beautiful and important, that is so powerful, because it comes from such a raw, emotional, real place inside of us. The shape that our life takes after we accept that part of our story, that part of the history that we have, once we can incorporate it into the everyday part of our lives, it is not only a sense of catharsis, where it's this relief of engaging with it in a way that is useful, that doesn't make you feel powerless or negative or angry. And you get to do what I'm doing right now, which is talking about the stuff that really matters to you. You get to build things, you get to share things, you get to create a world where that one thing that happened to you that you would never want anyone else to experience, you get to build that world. You get to invite other people into a world that never has to feel that way again, because you felt it for them. You suffered enough for them. And now you get to find ways, and it could be small ways, to bring people into a world where that is something that gets focused on. That's something that really matters. So, I mean, one of the things might be, say there is a 35-year-old man who lost his younger brother when he was 16, and he's in a position now where him and his friends can be big brothers to some kids in need, where they can know what it's like to have a big brother, and that 35-year-old man can be a big brother to them in a way in which he always wanted to be for his little brother who he lost. That's real. That's what brings people together, and that's what solves problems. When we can be honest about the things that we truly need and the things that happen to us that we wish never happened, that's where our power lies. That's where we can bring, that's where bridges are built. That is our pain is the place of beauty. It's the place of understanding. It's the place of, now I see you as a human being. You're not perfect and infallible. You're a living, breathing, three-dimensional, incredible person with a story. And the story wasn't always great. Now I see you. So that's what we all have. It is the one thing that binds us all together. So we can either use it or not. So the next point is that self-awareness creates value. So essentially, when you understand your pain points, that really aids in becoming more self-aware. But also becoming self-aware is to know the impact that you have on other people. So the thing that people notice about you, on their first impression of you, they accept immediately. They're okay with it. But it's the thing that you tell yourself is not right or good or whatever about you. So if that's true, if people can notice things about us and accept it, and we can still have it in our minds of like, oh, I'm shy about this, I'm insecure about this, or whatever it might be, then there must be parts of you that's incredibly valuable to people without you even knowing. It might be that there are people in your life that contact you, that reach out to you, and you serve a particular purpose in their life that you might not even be aware of. So you might have a friend who sometimes calls you at 10 o'clock when they're feeling incredibly lonely, and you don't really know what's happening in that person's life. But to them, you are the person who picks up. When they need someone to listen to, you're just like, hey man, what's up? And for you, it's absolutely normal, but to them, it's huge. There are many examples like that. So if you're in the business of creating value, you're also in the business of having to try and understand what it is that you're good at and what it is that you mean to people. So you've got to take the time to ask the people and get to know how they see you and what you're good at. And in that way, slowly but surely, you start seeing more of yourself in the way in which other people see you, so that you can give even more value based on what it is that you're actually good at, according to the people who actually feel helped by you. You can tell yourself a story about A, B, and C, that's what I'm really good at. But if you were to spend time and ask people what they think makes you special, it might be X, Y, Z. They might not even mention the story that you've told yourself about what it is that you think you're good at. Maybe the things that you think you're good at are in fact your challenges. Maybe those are the things that you're just busy learning to be better at. And in fact, there's things that you don't even consider yourself to be good at that come so naturally to you. But those are the things that are truly valued by the people around you. You don't even think that they're special about you because to you, that's just natural. If it's just natural, it means you're really good at it. Sometimes we are our greatest critic. And sometimes the story we tell ourselves is very different from the story that other people tell about us. And I don't mean that in a negative rumor way. I mean it in a, like I go to you for this thing. And you might not even know because you do it so naturally. So self-awareness creates a value. The more you know about what it is that you automatically do that's incredible, the more you can learn to give even more of that. Yeah, I love this one. So the next one is self-awareness creates trust. So once you know what value you bring, because you've already looked at what it is that makes you incredible, you've already accepted and thought about your pain points, now you want to build community, you want to build trust, you want to have people go, yeah, I can see that that's going to work, I want to be a part of it, or I really want to support it. Right? Every single thing that you buy, you're supporting that company. So by buying into it, you're going, what you're doing is great. So you're going to have that too. And that might not even be money. It might be that people want to spend time with you around that particular thing and they trust you because of that thing. So once you have the self-awareness where you can kind of go, I am good at that particular thing, but I'm struggling with this. I'm not that good at this. Once you are totally honest with yourself about your strength and your weakness, it means that you can comfortably talk about it with other people as well. Because once you are in a position where you've accepted your truth, which is what this article is about, once you've accepted the truth, you will not give up that honesty that you have with yourself for anyone. It seems pointless. That's how I am. Like, I don't lie ever. It's pointless. Like, I might tell white lies and things like that, but fundamentally, like, I don't really, like, I try really, really hard not to lie because it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't, so I don't do it. And because I've fought so hard to get to a place where I'm completely honest with myself that, or as much as I can be, it's just not worth it. Once you show that transparency and that honesty with other people, they will trust you. Once we come to terms with the fact that our own vulnerability and our own transparency is where our power lies, we get to use that and set that as a tone for everyone around us. So what do I mean by that? It means that once we are okay sharing what we suck at, what we can be better at, and what our challenges are, at the same time, people are allowed to see what makes us beautiful and what impact we want to create and what our strengths are. Therefore, other people get to do the same. So when you want people to take part in what it is that you're trying to do, or when you want people to collaborate with you, the best place to start is in a place of empathy. So empathy creates collaboration. What I mean by that is really simple. Is that if you give someone else the opportunity to talk about their pain point, to talk about the thing that they really wish that they could do more of or solve and not have anyone else, like what's the world that you want to live in? What doesn't happen in the world that you wish you lived in? Once you give someone the opportunity to solve that problem with you, maybe even because of the solution that you are creating, what you're doing is you're helping that person shape a world that feels freer and happier, and that their story and their meaning gets to find life within your vision, or the other way around, where you find someone that you truly believe in and you want to add value and you want to bring whatever strengths you have in making that world where that thing that you wish never happened never has to happen again. So in that way, getting to know someone, not just in terms of what are your strengths, what are you good at, but also in terms of what do you carry with you? What's your mission? What's the thing that you wish you could change? Why do you do what you're doing? Once you understand that, that's the beginning of a true friendship. That's the beginning of understanding what the other person has to lose if this doesn't work out. Not in terms of, oh, well, my money and my security and safety may be very unlikely, but maybe safety. Those are the things that are under threat. The certainty of life gets put under threat a little bit if things don't work out. But if you are operating in a sense of like, what is the world that you want to create, when there's a lot more at stake in terms of our identity, that's when things become real. That's when teams become incredibly vivid and versatile and dynamic and vital to each other, because what's at stake, the mission, becomes so important. It becomes a way for their creativity and their meaning to find life. And that is what's so exciting about a true collaboration that is built from empathy. But like anything worth having, it has to start with you. You've got to lead the way. You've got to take the plunge first. You've got to take the risk of honesty. Because there is, in the world that we live in today, let's not pretend just because I'm speaking to you in a way that makes everything okay. Because, hey, with me it is okay, but the world, not always. There is a risk in your honesty, always. And you've got to be willing to face it. You've got to be more willing to face it than you are willing to sacrifice that honesty. Because that's the math. So are you willing to not be honest? Because if you are, then it's going to be easy for you to make that white lie or pretend or whatever it is that people do. But if you aren't willing to sacrifice your integrity, sacrifice what's true for you, then it's easy to share that with other people and to allow them to do the same, because it's just stuff. It's just truth. And your truth is very different from my truth. So we get to learn about each other, and while we're learning from each other, we get to make cool stuff happen and build things. That's what's exciting, and that's what's beautiful about collaboration. So then lastly, and the thing that might be hidden from you, is that empathy is the answer to customer satisfaction. So this is really important. Once you begin listening and hearing yourself, once you are self-aware, where you are no longer only gut response, oh, you said that to me, oh, negative, battling. Once you've got no understanding of your pain points, and you're constantly reacting to the world positively or negatively, depending on how the world treats you. But when you're no longer living like that, when you have an understanding of your pain points, what happens is that you start learning how to listen to yourself. Remember, we talked about that millisecond before you're in the crossroads? Same thing. But then once you start listening to your pain points more, that millisecond becomes a second. And you can take a moment and you can ask yourself how you want to respond, because you understand where that thing comes from. So our listening skills become better. We can hear ourselves better. And when we can breathe and we're no longer reacting just out of gut and our pain points and all these things, what also starts happening is we start listening to other people in a way that addresses them as people who might have pain points too. Because what you'll find is people who can't accept their own pain points rarely will be able to accept the pain points of other people, because why should I worry about your problems? I have my own. There's so many people that live life this way. So once you can accept that there's stuff about you that needs a second, you can give that second to someone else and you can listen to them. And if they aren't sure about something, you can be patient and allow them to figure out what their truth is. And you can create an environment where that gets to be okay. So how is this an answer to customer satisfaction? It means that once you start becoming a better listener, it means that you can satisfy the needs of your customers in a better way. And when I say customers, I mean people who care about what it is that you do and the choices that you make. Your son could be your customer. Your teacher at school could be your customer. Someone who is impacted by what it is that you do and the choices that you make is your customer, if you want to look at it that way. These people are important to us, and when we can listen to ourselves and our own pain points, we can give them a second to just speak their truth. And then maybe after a while, they'll share their pain points with us, and then maybe we can go, oh, do you want to do something about it? Because you're good at that thing and I'm good at this thing. And then we can make something happen, and that's collaboration. But if it just stays like that, maybe you just solve a problem for that person in a really meaningful way, because you've given them a chance to tell you about their pain point. You've given them a chance to tell you what's on their mind. You've listened. And that empathy is the answer to customer satisfaction. And listening is a skill. And the deeper and better you listen, the more satisfied your customers will be. And again, customer is just another name for someone who cares about you and who you care about. Guys, this one was a little bit long, but I hope that the message came across. It's an article that I'm really happy about. It's taken me a really long time to be able to get to a place where I can kind of shape it and explain it in this way, because I've had to learn to do it in my own life. So if you liked it, like it. It's okay, I'll wait. Just over there. And then if you want to say hi, I'll say hi back and we can have a conversation. I really enjoyed this one. And if you did too, tell me about it and what it kicked up for you. Kicked up means whatever feelings it made you feel, positive or negative. I'm happy to accept both and to engage with you about both. Whatever it is that came up for you, comment, just write it down. Curious to know what you're feeling. All right, have a fantastic time, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.